Our planet is a place that shelters all beings equally without there being any discrepancy. That's how nature has made it. But unfortunately, it's we humans who barge into others' habitat, sabotaging it, thereby deriving a great sense of happiness in being a part of such destructive tendencies. Are humans turning into an incorrigible lot with their sadistic attitudes, and are they getting morphed or transformed into inhuman beings? Now, this is a very pertinent question that we need to ask ourselves at this point in time. Hello and welcome to yet another edition on Dr. D's Econet. Animals shouldn't have to be tortured or killed just because some humans consider this very act to be a fun element for them. Causing severe damage has become kind of innate in some of us, be it in the form of habitat destruction, fragmentation, and modification led by human activities such as industrial development, residential development, so on and so forth. Now, the sad part is these activities have taken an extreme toll on wildlife populations and demography at an alarming rate. Never before has a single species like we humans driven such profound changes to the habitats, its composition, and climate of our planet. More so, our unrestrained use of natural resources has impaired and damaged the crucial habitats and resources that species essentially need to survive. Let's delve deeper into the matter and get a first-hand reality check by the most venerated and selfless individual and an ardent animal lover and an animal activist for long, Madam Romola De Silva.
Hello, Dr. Divya. I'm back again, happy to be on the show to respond to the rest of your questions. So please go ahead.
Right, Madam. How can people claim to love animals but eat them? If you are a passionate animal advocate, you wouldn't think of doing something like this, isn't it? What's your take on this very point, Madam?
When I lived in Dubai, I used to support
Sure.
Canine and Feline Friends.
Right.
These are organizations that helped rescue abandoned animals.
Right.
Cats and dogs, respectively. They used to host fundraising dinners.
Right.
I would be shocked to see so much of meat served there. And I wondered, how could one animal be killed to save another? The same creator who created us created the ant and the elephant. We are all one family, so harming each other is out of the question. The means do not justify the end. To every animal, or rather living being, his or her life is precious. Just as humans would not like to be eaten or exploited by animals, I'm sure that animals too would not like to be exploited and eaten by humans.
Very well put across, Madam. As it is said, the most basic right is to be treated as an end in oneself and not as a means to someone else's ends. How true these statements are, isn't it? More so, I personally feel that morality must be the sole province of all human beings. All human beings must consider life forms as sacred, and we must value them as much as we value our own lives. So we must try and be much more responsible, mature, and pragmatic to be able to have a fantastic balance as far as nature and we human beings are concerned. Well, this is a very interesting question, madam, that I have, and it's a very, very important question as well. Animal cruelty has prevailed since long, be it in the form of animal testing, for the cosmetics industry, which is a big industry, for milk, meat, and milk products, essentially for the dairy industry, and cruelty undertaken for seeking pleasure. So my question here is, how have you been able to work on this very front, essentially to curb merciless animal cruelty?
Yes, Dr. Divya, it is heartbreaking and appalling to know to the extent to which humans can go for their own selfish ends.
Couldn't agree more.
And the extent to which it has increased over the years due to our unrestrained consumerism. You speak of animal testing laboratories or vivisection. For me, these laboratories are nothing less than torture chambers, inflicting unbearable and unending pain on innocent, defenseless creatures. The level to which these horrific experiments are conducted, and most of them are unjustified and even unreliable. Mahatma Gandhi said, "I abhor vivisection with my whole soul. I detest the unpardonable slaughter of innocent life in the name of science and humanity, so-called. And all the scientific discoveries stained with innocent blood, I count as of no consequence." The meat and dairy industry is another source of unending suffering and pain to animals. The value and properties of a plant-based diet has been well documented. George Bernard Shaw, he turned vegetarian in 1898 in the UK, something that was not even could have not even have been conceived at that time. He wrote the poem Peace, and he said, "Man is a walking graveyard for dead animals. He goes to church on Sundays, prays for peace and mercy, and comes home and gorges on the dead. And then he expects peace. All he gets is war, war, and more war." Yes, of course, violence begets violence. Once again, I quote Mahatma Gandhi, "To my mind, the life of a lamb is no less precious than that of a human being. I should be unwilling to take the life of a lamb for the sake of the human body. I hold the more helpless a creature, the more entitled it is to protection by man from the cruelty of man." The pollution generated by the meat and dairy industry put together is much more than all the pollution generated by all the vehicles of this earth. The United Nations has appealed to the public to reduce their consumption of meat and dairy, to curb the hazards created by the climate change. I urge your audience to read books like Fit for Life 1 and 2 by David and Marlene Harvey. Well, I read it about 25 years ago, and it had a profound effect on me. And later I read the book called Diet for a New America. This book is written by John Robbins, And John Robbins is the son of Mr. Robbins of the famous Baskin and Robbins ice cream. When he was born, he was born in the Robbins family. He lived, ate, dreamt ice cream. His swimming pool was in the shape of an ice cream cone. But as he grew up, he realized the business that he was going to inherit, multi-million-dollar business, was from the suffering of cows and damage to the environment and, of course, the health of the consumer. He gave up everything and started his own movement and wrote the famous book, Diet for a New America, and spread the message of veganism. No other species except humans consume the milk of another species. The meat and the dairy business are now termed as industries. And mother cow is just a milk-giving machine. Year after year, she is violated. Her newborn calf is snatched from her. She yearns and cries for her baby, and the calf yearns for its mother. The calf is then sent for slaughter, and mother cow, after her milk-giving years are over, she too is dumped. In 1948, a group of vegetarians in the UK realized this. They termed milk as liquid meat, and they started the vegan movement to end the suffering, their role in the suffering of animals, of cows in the dairy industry. Hence, veganism is a way of life that does not use or exploit animals in any form. It is the highest form of compassionate living. Karuna Society has sterilized all its rescued cattle. There is no milk production, hence the animals are free for life. We only use their urine and dung for the organic farming.
Absolutely, ma'am. There are no two ways about what you just said. In fact, these acts of violence or neglect perpetrated against animals entails a malicious intent. More so, using these voiceless, defenseless, and vulnerable sentient beings for personal benefit or personal use, or exploiting them to derive sadistic pleasures, in many instances have led to injury, harm, kicking, burning, and even killing of animals by we humans. These acts kind of make us think and contemplate, where is human race heading to? And is it losing humanity rapidly? Well, this is a very important and a seminal question at this point in time that we need to ask each one of us. Well, we must all protect these beings and help them get a life that they truly deserve. Also, madam, I would want you to splatter light on the plastic cow project that has been undertaken by Karuna. And what are your key responsibilities and obligations as far as this very project is concerned?
Some years ago, Karuna Society received 35 cattle picked up from the streets of a city nearby and dumped into our yard. One of them died, and we were very surprised. Hence, a post-mortem was conducted, and we were shocked. 60 kilos of plastic and garbage was taken out of the abdomen of that cow. Following this, all the animals, 35 of them, had to undergo surgery, and every one of them had more than 50 kilos of plastic. It's not just plastic, it is metal, rope, glass, what you have in the garbage bin, all that was in them. What happens to these animals? They are abandoned on the street, they are left to fend for themselves, and of course there is no grass growing on the roads. They know that there is some greens or some waste, vegetable waste in these bags, but unfortunately they cannot tear them open. They swallow the whole bag to satisfy their hunger, and everything becomes like rock in their stomach. They can no longer feed on grass. And once they are operated, they cannot be left back on the street. They have to be kept with the shelter for life. It is very sad. Recently there was a case in Faridabad, North India, where the cow was found suffering. She was pregnant and she was opened and all the plastic and garbage, other garbage pulled out. Unfortunately, her baby could not survive because there was no space for it to grow. And even the mother cow died after 3 days. This is not just the plight of cows on the streets. And in fact, every cow that you see on the street in any part of the country, you can be sure is full of plastic. It breaks my heart because I know that their end can be very painful. Every animal has been suffering because of man's indiscriminate use, I would say abuse, and disposal of plastic waste, mostly plastic bags and other packaging material, whether it's the sea or the air or the land. We have poisoned with our indiscriminate use of plastic. We have 3 R's in environment protection. It is reduce, reuse, recycle. But now there is a 4th R, which is imperatively, and that is refuse. Refuse, if you can, plastic bags or other packaging. That is the best solution for today's problems. Man is the only species which damages the environment and disturbs it for his existence. No other species harms the environment to survive. On the contrary, they help and support the environment. Recently, I read an article which said that nanoparticles of plastic are now found in the human fetus. What goes around comes around. We have to bear the consequences of our callous actions.
In fact, I completely endorse what you just said, madam, on this very particular topic. Now we all are aware of the hazardous effects plastics have on both nature and animals of our planet. In fact, schools have incorporated the ugly side of plastics in their curricula to ensure plastics aren't used and are replaced by paper bags. Well, this has been repeated time and again, and we have been educated on this very front. Despite all the efforts, it's heartbreaking to see how the use of plastic and plastic bags especially continues and is creating a menace as far as both animals and nature are concerned. Now, this is a grave issue, and this is a matter that is being addressed here on this very platform, Dr. D's eConnect, so that we all know the ill effects of plastic that it has been causing on both animals and our lovely environment. We all need to show that love, care, and affection to both animals and nature to ensure that this planet, Earth, stays a beautiful place for the generations to come. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your inputs on this very topic. It was phenomenal. It was an eye-opener. The next question I'm going to put across to you, madam, is: do you feel invincibly or strongly that the very current pandemic or COVID is an outcome of the imbalance caused by mankind to both nature and thereby the ecology? What is your take on this, ma'am?
Dr. Divya, you have asked a very good and pertinent question. Yes, the COVID crisis and man's interference with nature are related. Let me explain. Take, for example, the Amazon forest. It is home to several wild animals, insects, reptiles, and also to numerous viruses. When these forests are brought down for building infrastructure or clearing land to grow fodder for the animals, the livestock, these viruses are released. Animals are left homeless, and these animals find their way into human habitats. You see so many monkeys now in cities. This is one of the reasons. And they bring their viruses along with them. Swine flu, SARS, Ebola, these are all the outcome. The public is also exposed to viruses in wet markets where wild animals are slaughtered for human consumption. Then you have the intensive factory farming, poultry farming, where thousands of chickens are cramped together and then slaughtered for human consumption. Well, you have the bird flu there. And then you have the wrong feed given to animals. Vegetarian cows are fed with non-vegetarian feed for profit. You have the mad cow disease. Well, it's unending, and we pay a price for interfering with nature. Many, many years ago, I read a quote by Philip Pick, and it is more relevant than ever today. He says, "Health is to see the world in a grain of sand, to observe the tiniest creature carrying out its planned activities. Discord is to consider an insect, something to be trodden on, a gentle cow as a leather bag, shoes or flesh on a plate. Health does not depend on bread alone. The mind must soar as on eagle's wings into the higher realms of divine inspiration and faith. To starve the soul is more damaging than to starve the body. One cannot have health unless there is love and respect for all of God's creatures." Milind Kundra, the French author and critic, wrote, "Mankind's true mortal test, its fundamental test, consists of its attitudes towards those who are at its mercy, the animals. And in this respect, mankind has suffered a fundamental debacle, a debacle so fundamental that all others stem from it."
Well, there's a second part to this question as well. What staunch advice would you like to give people to get back this very lost trade-off soon?
Not everybody can love an animal, but there is one thing we should and can do, and that is respect every living being. Because every creature on this planet has a right to his life and to the space he occupies, just like us. we share the home with them. Sri Satya Sai Baba says, man is the only creature that needs a guru from time to time. This world is full of countless number of species, but they all live their life of purpose for which they were born. Only man strays from the righteous path. I also request those who plan to have a pet to adopt one, and rather than adopt one from a shelter, rather than buy one from a breeder. The pet breeding industry is become a very cruel and merciless one. Make sure that in case you are buying from a breeder, that the mother has been treated with care and respect, and that the baby is at least 2 months old. Follow the golden rule. Do not do unto others what you would not like to be done unto you. To close this talk, I would read a quote by Melissa Teig. Animals can't fight wars like us, pollute the world like us, or create acid rain. But they love like us, cry like us, and they definitely feel pain. We humans must stop thinking that we are a superior species, hence masters of the planet. Every living being, and I include plants and trees, have an important role to play in the ecological balance of the earth. Albert Einstein said, if the honey bee is eliminated from the face of the earth, all life will cease to exist in a few years. This is how important the insignificant looking bee is. Whereas on the other hand, if humans were removed from this earth, Mother Earth would thrive and prosper.
Right.
When the white man invaded America, the tribals were displaced. The Red Indians, they found themselves facing foreign invasion. They were asked what they wanted in return for their land. Chief Seattle was the tribal chief at that time, said, we do not want anything except for one thing. Treat the animals of this land as your brothers. For whatever happens to the animals soon happens to man. And then he wrote this famous verse.
Right.
This we know, the earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to the earth. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons of the earth. Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does it to himself. Dr. Divya, thank you very much for giving me this golden opportunity of speaking for my voiceless family. I hope and I pray that it will help them at least to some extent.
Yeah.
Thank you once again.
Yeah.
And God bless.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I actually loved how you tackled this very question, madam. In fact, it's about time for us to be more responsible, mature, practical, and be attached emotionally to other things and beings in nature to be able to witness that very balance or trade-off that was shaken by us. I can't thank you enough, ma'am, for joining in with me for yet another mind-boggling and mind-blowing session and being a sport that you are. It was lovely to have this very Chattahoochee, and I look forward to having you on board sessions in the near future. You are and will always be a seminal and a very important part of Dr. D's Econet squad. Thank you so much for joining in. Really appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.